competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this topic of how should boards approach AI. My name is Jesper Toner, and I work for Datapixel, an AI company, and we have the COO of Datapixel with us today from Bangalore, India, Gaurav Dixit. Hello, Gaurav.
Hey, Jesper.
Hi there. So good. So we'll start with a small introduction of who we are. As I said, we work for Datapixel. My background is from Accenture, where I used to work as a consultant there, followed by 10 odd years at Ericsson in different areas, from network to the latest one, product area cloud, where we work together in a portfolio evolving around software-defined architecture and software-defined infrastructure. Basically building software and hardware to build cloud services. After that, I spent a few years as CEO of a software company in Sweden called Backfors that worked with ERP systems for the logistics industry in lorries and vans. So for those who are Swedish, åkerier and lastbilscentraler, and software evolving around that. And currently I also enjoy studying an executive education around boards, board education at Lund. And this topic is around boards. So basically, how should boards approach AI? But first, I'd like to introduce, or let Gaurav introduce himself.
Thank you, Jesper. And yeah, super excited to have this discussion with you and others. So yeah, my name is Gaurav Dixit. I'm currently based out of Bangalore. My background is at the intersection of business and technology. I have done a couple of 0 to 1 journeys in the healthcare space, where I co-founded a Swedish healthcare startup, which automates end-to-end workflows and is in some of the biggest names, currently serving live patients in Sweden and expanding to other places. And then, as Jesper mentioned, I also started and founded Datapixel, which is AI strategy and engineering services company. The inspiration for it came from my own experience of working in big organizations, where I was responsible for leading AI efforts for the likes of Ericsson, where I was either getting at one end of the spectrum, where it's like super good strategy work by third parties, or at the other end of the spectrum, where it was pure care delivery by system integrators. What was missing is something who can help bridge both, like work with me to define the right strategy which will meet the business goals, but at the same time, like get the ball rolling, get the momentum, show the art of possible by having fast prototyping and production work before we roll in the tanks. So that was the inspiration behind starting Datapixel, and we have been on it. Back to you, Jesper.
Great. So you said about DataPixel around AI strategy and engineering services. Can you expand that a little bit so we understand what the company is doing, because there are so many different areas around AI?
Absolutely. So I think it is ideally the end-to-end flow is engaging with the highest levels of organization in understanding how the business problems can be solved using data science, because not all business problems need the hammer of machine learning and AI. A lot of them need not be. So translating the business problems into data science problems, aligning them with the strategy, with the OKRs, with the desired outcome at the highest levels possible in the organizations, then converting them into use cases, prioritizing them as per complexity and value and alignment with the business, and then quickly prototyping them. And before that, an important thing is putting a dollar number on what value will this use case bring, either in terms of cost saving or additional revenue or mix of both. And then quickly roll out POCs, proof of concepts, to make sure to validate if those ROI numbers make sense. Because that's where a lot of these things fail. They started good experimentation and innovation, but when after that innovation budget is expired, then questions come in terms of what was the business value and how do we take it further. So that's where, like, that's how the philosophy of all these proof of concepts or proof of value comes into play, and then comes the next step of rolling out of these use cases in production. So that's where also we help. And so there are 4 pillars. The first pillar is of data, because everything is defined around what sort of data strategy is there technically in terms of governance and so on and so forth. Second comes the use cases, which can be built using the data to solve the business problems. And thirdly comes the packaging and pricing, because the use cases are worth nothing if they cannot be packaged, priced, and served commercially. So the packaging and pricing, because AI packaging and pricing and the commercial GTM is not straightforward, not same as software licensing or pay-per-use sort of. So the value augmentation of it, the packaging of it is also something which is very important, and we've seen that. And then last, but of course definitely not the least, is the people dimension. Right here, there is no, the idea is to engage with organizations so they themselves can take the journey further, so that we can go and serve others. We don't intend to stay there forever. So which includes enabling the organization, which includes making sure that we help them in nano COEs, where like they're injected as a steroid to get the ball rolling, but also help in the hiring, so that we hire the right people and inject into the payrolls of the organization after a knowledge transfer, so they can go and kind of be the change agents internally beyond us. So these are the 4 dimensions in which we move the different levers to make sure that AI gets adopted to yield business value.
So you're helping them in both setting a data and AI strategy, as well as helping companies to become self-sufficient to continue that journey around AI.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect.
And another dimension, Jesper, is like the idea of meeting the organization where the organization is in its maturity, because there's a lot of organizations who are just super good technically, are super domain competent in whatever they do, but they are not mature in terms of their data readiness, their AI readiness, and the skill sets required. So we meet them in a different dimension of like walking with them hand in hand on the journey, solving the why before the how. But then there are also certain organizations which are bit deeper. Already they have the competence, they know what use cases to solve. They just lack, for example, the quick turnaround mechanism. So we meet them where they are in terms of, we have the right folks who understand, we quickly align on what is the desired outcome, not only tactical kind of development, but like what are we doing, why, and then quickly have an augmentation of the existing capacity to yield the results. So that's like not one size fits all. You meet the customer where the customer is to bring the maximum value.
So thank you for that. So I have a question in regards to at least my approach is that all companies must have a strategy or a way to relate to AI today. And you've been working with both big companies and smaller companies. And you mentioned that all these companies are different maturity levels when it comes to AI. What is your general view on the maturity level of a smaller company, a mid company, and a big size company when it comes to these questions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say as you say, right, unless and until someone has been living under a rock or a cave in the Himalayas in the last 2 years, they know that they need to adopt AI and do it, right? So there is no, at least when I started on this journey in like 2017, 18, like setting up as the head of AI and automation development for Ericsson Managed Services business unit, there's a lot of awareness creation which needed to happen, right? Both internally and externally, in terms of why are we doing? Why is RPA not enough? Why do human experts are not enough? And why do you need to have these models which tell us that this KPI of this particular telecom network is going to degrade, etc., etc. So there's a lot of awareness and enablement needed to happen then. We are much past that, as I said, right? So there's the common theme across organization size of big, small, that big, mid, and small, that everyone needs to do it. But then how it is done and how they can do is very different in terms of different organizations, and it's not very different from any sort of enterprise adoption of a transformation. They're big organizations, like some of the biggest software companies which I interact with, right, in the world, where they are stuck at, they have tons of capability, but the internal motion, one part is not aware of the other, and everyone is running their own show. So that's where these things get a bit hampered. The small ones are very but the big ones have the deep pockets to actually have some leeway that, okay, let's not see the ROI here and now, we can continue to do because there is a board level mandate to do this. So they have the leash is a bit longer there, unlike the small organizations where they are getting a double whammy. First, if they're a small and they're into some sort of software, this SaaSocalypse, right, as we call it, right, like first software was eaten by SaaS. Now SaaS is being eaten by AI. So the AI is eating their lunch. If they have any sort of software offering, people want to do it themselves using the clouds of the world and others. So that's one. They have extreme pressure to make sure that they survive. Then if they make any investments on AI, they have to yield ROI super duper fast. ROI in terms of net new revenue or efficiency numbers. So they don't have that much time to make sure that, okay, these things, the leash is much shorter. So they have those sort of pressures. But the urgency is everywhere. There is no doubt about urgency at any level. But the sort of leeway which people have is a bit different. I think the sweet spot is the mid-sized companies, honestly, because they have enough kind of runway and stickiness in wherever they are, especially the industrial software mid-sized sort of companies, because there is so much install base, there is so much stickiness, but at the same time there is so much room for improvement. And for good or bad, a lot of these companies what I have interacted with, they have been what they started long ago, because they've been so focused on doing one thing and getting deeper into a domain, so they know that stuff super duper well. They have missed a lot of SaaS part of it. Now comes this way. So there is a lot of things which they can do radically different, because the sort of, they are skipping a step in between. So that's another flavor to think of, or at least what I have seen in my interaction so far.
So great. So coming back to our main topic, how should boards approach AI? As you said, there's a sense of urgency among most companies, you would say, if not all. And that's of course great. Have you seen any distinction between the board level and the management level within the companies that you've been interacting with, in terms of their knowledge and terms of their approach to AI?
Yeah, I think the first question is in terms of composition of the boards, right? At least in the companies I'm dealing with, there is now an active effort for board education on these topics. If not, bring in members who are well versed in these topics. So that is one, and that is a much needed step, because what I was noticing before was is lot of things were driven from a board level based on whatever is happening in the media, right? Like, why can't we do this? Why can't if everyone is doing this, these are so fast, why don't we fire everyone and just have few agents who will do stuff, right? And then there is a dissonance which happens between the management and the board. That is now this very active effort on board education of ramping up of capabilities on those topics, which is helping a lot. Secondly, even now things are becoming very very strict on show me the money, right? Initially it was a lot of like we should also do AI, kind of, because everyone is doing, so that was flowing top down without that much emphasis on where is the ROI, right? Let's do it now, we cannot miss. There's a lot of FOMO. Everyone is doing, we should do it. Now it has become very, very strict in both big and small and mid organizations, right? In all of them, that okay, is there a new upsell which will we increase our product contribution by 10% by doing any AI use cases? If not, then let's think. Do we need to do that, or there are other stuff which we can do? So that sort of thinking is coming. There is a lot of emphasis on the efficiency, right? So now the engineering organizations structurally are changing, right? I've seen that at every level, including within Datapixel. So we don't need army of people, right? I would rather have the pyramid shrunk very, very small and keep the apex of it, and then use all the possible tools at disposal. Because that increases the speed, to be honest. That reduces the overhead, that reduces the people management part of it, for good or bad, but things move much, much faster. So that is how a lot of engineering organizations are getting, like a lot of management part of it, the permafrost as it's called, right, is even getting more pushed out. Either you go up in the specialization level, where you are the expert, and the expertise need not be software, the expertise can be domain. Like, you know your domain, you are the, like, interestingly, as you see, right, the lawyers, like top lawyers, because of Legora, Harvey, and all those, I mean, it's not that their fees has even gone higher, because their expertise is so much needed to verify, to validate whatever the output is coming from there, and that's true across domains. So that's how structurally the organizations are facing a shift, which especially in the engineering organization, and the board is realizing and pushing and making sure that those budgets are opened up for all the tools which are needed to bring about those efficiencies.
Great. So if I hear you correctly, in the start it was more a fear of missing out, that we must do something around AI based on more around the general buzz of AI, the fear of missing out part. But then already now you see more of a maturity in this area, where actually we want some specific use case where we can get a return on investment on different ideas. Would you say that this change in maturity has that come from below within the organizations and approached the boards, or has it gone the other way, that the boards have reached this maturity and then pushed that into the organization?
I think it's more of latter in my view, because like there is like a typical hype curve. There was a hype curve which was happening for a long time, and you don't want to miss on that. You are a company or an investor, you have FOMO, that I shouldn't be the one missing out on this. So now that maturity or hype curve has been settling a bit, where these questions have been coming, like where are the returns, where are the numbers over there. So it is more of things need to convert, because the investments have been going in this dimension, right? But if those don't reflect in the books, either in terms of better bottom line or higher top line, then the questions come. So it has come by realization of doing it for a few years and then coming back, okay, what is it? What is that we should be doing right now?
Great. And I assume that a lot of the companies that you have been working with are more related to the software industry. Would you say that, or is that also in the other domain? Because the audience we have today come from quite varying types of organization. So how does it look in the non-tech domain? Would you say?
Yeah, I think as I said, like non-tech, I mean, everything is tech in some way, right? There's some element of software everywhere. It's about like if your primary offering is a software or not is how I define if you are a tech or a software or not software company, right? So from by that logic, like every company is a tech company. Like you need to have tech to if nothing else, like do your supply chain, right? Your ERP process, the RFP you are issuing, right? How slow it was to how faster and compliant you can be, so that you do the checks proactively that this is the right vendor or not, because the vendor has a history or a prediction that the vendor will probably not do the deliveries on time and so on and so forth. So it's very agnostic. If you are a software company, then this is, as I said, like this is like even more relevant for you, because if you are a software company, then there is an expectation based on the expectation set by the AI companies. And if you're a software company, the expectations are, for example, AI is the new UI, right? You are expected to not have an interface of clicking buttons for your software to work and be integrated. Like AI, like the likes of Anthropic and OpenAI, like as they call it, AI is the new UI. Everything is in one box where you express your intent, what you want, and the right connections over there, like do what it's supposed to be. So intent is converted into action rather than like you kind of declaratively telling what do I want and click buttons. So if you are a software company, you are expected to have a fundamental shift in your user experience, right? So that's like an extra burden or an extra hygiene requirements on all companies which have software as their end product. And if you are into non-software as an end product, then more and more requirements are on the efficiency, like how can we do things faster and better, because there's a lot of transformational steps which can happen in the workflows. I'll, for example, give you the example of healthcare, right? Where I co-founded this Swedish healthcare company, where we kind of the workflow from a patient's booking to then the appointment booking or the questionnaire to booking to triaging before a call happens, then the appointment happening, then auto transcribing that consultation to converting into notes to then pushing into the EHR system, whichever that is, right? Depending on the region of Sweden you are in, is a Cambio one or a Take Care or Cerner, and so all this is probably the end-to-end healthcare workflow. It is not that it was not happening before. It was happening before. It was happening. There were different software systems doing this. There were n number of systems, so old systems and working well systems who were doing. Then one was doing the back end management of it in terms of nurses, midwives, doctors, their schedules and stuff. Then there was a consultation system which was there. There's an EHR. All those things are there, like sending the letters to Kira or to physical post, sending SMS. Like all these systems exist, but they were so broken. So now with the capability of AI, we could kind of make the system integrated. Like you express an intent, we pop up the right available slot to kind of the booking which is done in an AI manner, to the consultation which gets AI scribed, to a doctor assist workflow where the doctor gets an understanding what is the right code. So that's not the healthcare system or all the ward centrals and others. They don't have software as an offering, but their offering is changed using the AI capabilities into the workflow. That's where the efficiency comes. More doctors can serve more patients in their time. They serve less time in documentation. The patient experience increases. The number of empty slots, cancellation happen. The doctor is sitting idle. The ward central loses money. So, like, can we fill it in proactively with the next best possible match? and so on and so forth. Right? So all those sort of things are where the fundamental workflow gets changed because of the capabilities of AI, which is in the workflow.
So that's a great example, because the main topic of this view is of course best for the world, and I think you gave several examples on outcomes of a changing process and the workflow using AI. So using AI to integrate different software tools in order to create a more efficient output and efficient flow. Hence, you can use that to serve more patients, as this one example. If we step back, because that's a great one example, and I think that several listeners also probably ask themselves, where are we in this process? Or if we have not started, where should we start with this? Perhaps this board has not taken a first step in the AI domain. So given what we do now, how would and should they approach AI as of today, you think?
Yeah, no, I think again, as I said, like I strongly recommend using AI as a hammer, right? Like, okay, where should we apply AI? It should be the other way around. What is the biggest problem? What do we discuss? If there was no 2022 September launch of ChatGPT by OpenAI, what is that we're discussing now? Is it that our returns as the percentage of revenue is too high, right? Or is it that our customer NPS scores are going too low, or churn rates are too high? Whatever that is, our margins are not where they should be. Like, what is the biggest level board discussions we are having? That tells you what is the biggest business problem we have. And then, for example, if the issue is on, okay, our returns as percentage of revenue, or for example, there is an industrial machine. Like, take an example, it's a dairy farm. You ship machines to kind of milk the cows, etc. Like big companies like Alfa Laval and all those, like they do that, right? So they, for example, if that's the sort of industry we are talking about, industrial machinery, and your returns are too high as a percentage of revenue, and your board target is the next 2 years it should come under 1%. That's like a board level discussion. That's a mandate. You tell the management this is what, because this will impact the shareholder value. That's what the board is about. So how do we do it? Now we have the power of AI at our disposal, right? To do things better, to do things different, in better quality and lower cost. How do we do it? Then you break it down into, okay, this is a problem which will benefit from AI. Because if there is, you engage the right folks to understand, okay, is there something which AI can help? Definitely, right? Because the returns are happening for a reason. The returns are happening because there is not enough predictive maintenance on them. If you do better predictive maintenance, the returns would be less. Okay, so that's a business problem broken down into a data science problem. Okay, then the right experts engaged tell, okay, to do predictive maintenance, what do we need? We need some sort of performance data, sensor data, IoT data, which is coming in from the devices in real time. So do we have access to that data? Do we have the contractual access from our customers to use that data? Do we have the technical infrastructure to ingest the data in real time and store it for foreseeable future? And do we have the people to make sense of it and do something which can generate use cases and predict based on this data coming in, there is something wrong. If your AMC is not scheduled within 3 days, because 3 days is when this machine will probably go wrong, then go send someone. And if not, then don't, because the AMC is already scheduled. Someone will go there and fix and kind of refine the machinery within the next 3 days. So don't waste your money. That's like a very simple use case of a board level discussion, of a business problem getting translated into a data science problem, getting translated into a data and technology problem, and then how a use case is defined and implemented.
Great. So if I hear you correctly, instead of taking AI as a tool and look everywhere, can we apply it? That's not the approach, but rather you should start with what are our biggest business problems that we face as a company,
Yes.
And once you've done that, you can start discussing, okay, what is our strategy around those problems, and then could we use AI to solve some of these problems, which in turns probably lead to, do we have the data, do we have the data quality that we need in order to overcome those problems. So it's
Right. Absolutely.
yep. No, but that sounds great. Um, do you have any other practical examples? Because the way I've seen it before is that a lot of companies start on the efficiency path, using perhaps external AI tools to be more efficient in their operations, for instance. Whereas you also discussed more on the business side, the actual revenue side of the side.
Right.
Have you seen that change in the maturity of different companies, or would you agree on that was how most companies started, or how does that look?
No, absolutely. It starts on the efficiency track, because that is, to be honest, a low-hanging fruit. You can, if you're a software company, you would have software developers, like you won't let them go, but you won't hire new people, because the efficiency of the existing ones will increase by access to the state-of-art AI assistant tools, whichever you pick, Copilot or Claude Code or whatever you pick, right? Or Codex from OpenAI. Each of them have their own pros and cons. So similarly for other efficiency sort of problems, right? Like in the telecom world, if there were n number of folks needed to manage a network, now with the AI capabilities, a lot of things get predicted beforehand. So those issues even don't enter the network operating center, where like people were sitting to solve those issues when they come in. Now, like those are proactively handled, that something was probably going to go wrong. This is the corrective action. That corrective action was triggered. So that issue itself was, the problem was nipped in the bud. So you won't even see that coming in. So you will handle more kind of traffic with the same number of people. So those sort of things are of course there. Those from efficiency thing. From a business perspective, I've seen two sorts of use cases or offerings. One is called, how I define it, as a embedded AI offering, right? Which means that if you are doing something today, for example, yes, but going back to your previous assignment with Bugforce. So if it's a software platform enabling logistics, right, and efficient logistics in terms of route optimization, etc. If you have then that is an embedded offering, because that is something which you are already doing. You cannot charge more money your customers. It will be hard for you to charge more money from your customers for things like those, because it is pretty much like it's a system upgrade. There's a new technology coming in. You don't charge more stuff for moving your code from COBOL to Java. You are supposed to do that because this was legacy code and now this is a new tech. So that's like embedded offering. Then there is called bolt-on offering, how I call it, right? Which means this is not the promise you made to the customers today. You are not promising like the best logistics solution was your promise. Anything you do to enable that is the existing promise. It's hard to charge money for it. That capability is embedded. That makes your software future-proof. You are a future-proof partner for them because you are constantly investing in your platform. But if you come up with new offerings, like it's not only logistics, but I will also tell you the best kind of cross-sell, upsell opportunities based on the traffic which is flowing through, the goods which are flowing through the logistics. That's a new sort of offering. That is not the promise which you made today as a company to the customers. That's a net new offering. So that's something which can be bolted on top of it, and you can charge for it. So that's the two sort of business top line increasing options which I have seen, and most of the offerings by all the companies I've engaged with fall in either of those two when it comes to the business problems.
Great. So I think we have a few minutes for any questions out there. Can we see that on the no? It seems like there's not much. So I think we can summarize a little bit what we've been talking about today. So generally, the topic of how should boards approach AI is that we've probably already moved from a more sense of urgency that we must do something to already right now being in the face of boards getting an understanding through education about AI, about where they are and how they can utilize it. But the way to approach it is not to go around thinking AI is the tool for everything, but rather start with the strategy of the company, and hence that is very related to what a board should do, as they are the approver of the company strategy. And also often involved in actually creating the strategy as such. And then we've seen in different areas evolving from efficiency, where a lot of things where use cases perhaps started, to moving also to the revenue side and actually creating new services that could be either as part of the overall offering today, but also as a bolt-on offering or entirely new offerings based on what you get out of the AI capabilities. Is that how you would summarize this? So good. Then I think we're finalizing. Thank you very much, Gaurav, for your time today. And thank you, the audience, for listening here. And we are at the Data Pixel if there is anyone who wants to continue the discussion as such. Yes? Gaurav, any final words from your side?
We are creating the world we're now living in. We are competing in. We are repeating it. We are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions